News from Campi Flegrei from Italy. A new seismic swarm has begun. Another 2.1 magnitude earthquake has shocked residents during the night. I bet they weren't happy about this because after this long seismic swarm that just ended, they must have had the need for a break, and then you're in your bed at night and then, oh gosh, it's shaking again. But that's not the only thing. There's more signs that the volcano is doing something. The carbon dioxide problem. They have found carbon dioxide in buildings in Pozzuoli, in basements, in badly ventilated buildings. So there is news about that, and I'll tell you where it was found. And they want to make detectors now mandatory in homes. Schools are closed, or a certain school is closed because of that. So it is a serious problem that they're facing right now. Unfortunately, today, the news seismic swarm has begun during the night with the biggest shock so far. You see the diagram here, 2.1, but over 20 earthquakes were recorded during the night. The strongest was the 2.1 at 1:53 a.m. local time, shallow depth again, only 3 kilometers. So you really see the pictures here. It was strong, and then there were some others also. And that's a new seismic swarm. It's ongoing. We have to see if this was it or if there's more of them coming. Let's have a look at the current earthquake list. This list only shows you the ones that have magnitude 1 or higher. It's not as crazy as it was. So you see 153, 31 seconds, we've had the magnitude 1.0, and just a few seconds before that, the 2.1, so they were very close together. And then the last one was the day before, a 1.0. So, but this swarm is only magnitude 1, and there must have been way more, all at shallow depth. Let's look at the epicenter of the 2.1. I'm pretty sure we all know where that is. So there you see Naples, there you see the Gulf of Pozzuoli. And yeah, there's the Solfatara. That's the most active crater right now. That's also where these fumaroles are with the sulfur gases coming out. And yeah, so this is the epicenter. It's not far away. It's basically where we have a cluster of most of these earthquakes. So not a surprise. Let's just have a quick look at the 1.0, if that is also in the same area, and it is. If we zoom in, it is basically same area, a little bit higher. And the thing is, this is the Tangenziale di Napoli. This is their main escape route that they're planning to evacuate everyone from these areas going up to that highway. And we've had epicenters right underneath the highway. So should there be a bigger one, it could damage this highway. That's why they said, wow, we need to do upgrades. There's bridges. So if that is gone, how do you want to evacuate? There's Naples, right? More than 6 million people should there be something bad going on, even if it's just earthquakes. But if there's an eruption and this Tangenziale is damaged, it's a problem. Let's get to the carbon dioxide problem. The Vesuvius Observatory, together with the INGV, they have detected increased carbon dioxide emissions in the basements of structures that are in Pozzuoli and near the Campi Flegrei Solfatara area. But it's also stretching as far as Baccioli, Pozzuoli, the Pischiarelli area, and Agnano in Naples. So it's not only that we say it's just a few houses, it's quite a widespread area. So municipalities, that's what the officials are saying, will now have to issue ordinances to ensure that in these areas, in addition to regular checks and potentially at-risk buildings, that they are equipped with specific equipment that would be capable of measuring these carbon dioxide levels and also give a warning. So I'm showing you this map here. So the mayor of Naples has issued an urgent ordinance after these cases were detected. The discovery of these concentrations is considered very anomalous. So it's an anomaly. The mayor said in his capacity as government official and municipal authority of civil protection, health and public safety, that's a long one, he has issued this urgent ordinance for the adoption of prevention measurements and also the assistance to the population for the Brady seismic risk that is linked to these anomalous accumulations of CO2 in basements and poorly ventilated rooms. I mean, it's not, yeah, the rooms are poorly ventilated. That's okay. That's why the concentration is higher, but that's not the main problem. The problem is that these emissions are being released by the Brady seismic system, by the volcanic system, by Campi Flegrei. What they want to do now is they want the population to be obligated to comply with these self-protection measures and useful indications for identifying the appropriate prevention measures that would be essential to maintain the safety conditions of citizens throughout the indicated area. And they want to ban the use of underground and semi-underground spaces, so like basement suites or like half basement for residential purposes, so people should not live there anymore, for offices, work, recreational activities, and in the indicated area for an extended period of time until the installation of CO2 detection instrument is happening, and it has to be equipped with acoustic and visual alarms in the event that it should exceed the safety thresholds. Same goes for manufacturing areas, for production activities, for public buildings, of course, very important, schools, hospitals, care homes. Also for construction works that involve excavations or even just activities in the area that they have identified. Let's get a little bit more specific. So where is a lot of stuff happening? So the first inspections that the firefighters started to conduct in the last few days in public buildings in the Campi Flegrei area have detected high concentrations of CO2 on the ground floors of a school. They call it a school institute. It's called Virgilio in Pozzuoli. It's not very far from the Solfatara, so it's not really surprising. So the school will remain closed as a precautionary measure, and because the authorities will proceed to install a series of tools that will allow continuous monitoring of the carbon dioxide levels in the air. First, they need to see if they can get rid of that concentration by turning on, if they have. Probably they don't. In Europe, you don't have ventilation systems in that many buildings or air conditioning, and especially if it's an older building. So can they get rid of it? That's the question. They will install monitoring equipment that will monitor the carbon dioxide levels in the air. And if the safety threshold is exceeded, it will trigger a visual and an audio alarm. And on that map you see in red, that's the area with high emissions. And the green areas are the areas with medium emissions. And then we have that darker light blue. So they're saying that that blue area is a non-measurable area, but likely with high emissions. I'm not sure what they mean. They haven't measured it yet, or they can't measure it. I guess they haven't measured it yet, but it's probably also a red area. And then we have that sandy looking area. They're saying it's a non-measurable area. They don't tell us why not. Why is that not measurable? I will look into this, guys. I just wanted to show you that map real quickly. And then we have all the translucent light blue, and they're saying that it's just water degassing, a water degassing area, just water steam, not CO2. But it seems there's also something degassing from the volcano. That school is closed. It was particularly also in the gym of that school. And what I find interesting is, or what I'm wondering, especially if we look at that map. So one local resident was commenting on a press release from the community Pozzoli, and that resident said, I find this governing by ordinance really schizophrenic. If this CO2 is there, it is also in all the houses in the area, probably in the aquifers. What is the point in just closing the school? They're always saying the same. If we're in danger, evacuate Pozzoli. Let's get active. If we're not, don't close the doors. So I think what they're saying right now is they have high concentrations in poorly ventilated homes. There's homes that have better ventilation where the concentrations are not that high. But yeah, probably it's everywhere close to the Solfatara. That's my guess. I hope we will find out more in the coming days and weeks. And another comment, and that is kind of scary because it seems that has been going on for quite a while. Another resident says, well, I would like to also add that there have been people attending this school, this institute, and they felt constant dizziness. They were feeling stunned. They said the increase did not happen today or yesterday. This has been going on for at least 2 months. And then the resident says, here you're playing with people's health. Move the schools away from this area until the situation calms down. He thinks that it's kind of negligent to allow schools to be built so close to the volcano, to the Solfatara. And residents then, they keep posting. They seem to be angry. They say you have to check all the schools in Pozzoli, even those with small children, kindergarten, nurseries, stuff like this. And then some say, well, I congratulate whoever decided to build a school right there. Yeah. Another resident says, well, I'm already seeing another house far from here. We need to move before everything explodes. Even the Flegrei commune don't know what to do or how to fix it. And another resident says, and yeah, I have to agree with that resident, I don't understand why, if you live in a volcanic area, you don't have CO2 detectors installed in your homes. They're very cheap. And is there any explanation for this? Why we don't have this? And we know Campi Flegrei is rumbling quite a bit. So something's brewing down there. And I've just recently reported about a new study that comes to the conclusion that the most likely event, should there be an eruption, is probably a phreatic eruptions. And well, Campi Flegrei, the name, it means burning field. And it has been associated since ancient times with violent eruptions, and also as a result of that with mythological tales. But we need to talk about the area because it has only been densely populated in the last century. And that densely population that is on the Campi Flegrei volcano, right on top of it, that's the problem. So we have Campi Flegrei together with Vesuvius. So these two guys are the only continental volcanoes that are still active in Europe, continental. And again, Phlegrean fields literally means burning fields because it's not a stratovolcano like Vesuvius. And the Greeks did call them that. And precisely because the area was already at their times intense, both with earthquake, seismic activity, but also volcanic activity. And I think since we're so busy with that area, I hope you like that, to give you a little bit of a background knowledge, because in legend, in a Greek legend, the Greeks depicted there the battle of the giants who, in an attempt to climb to Olympus, were defeated by the gods. So in particular, the giants would have placed 3 mountains on top of each other to attempt the climb up to Olympus. But then they were rejected. Too bad. So that battle would have also caused, how they call it in the tale, the rain of stones. Does that sound familiar? Phreatic eruptions, volcanic eruptions, that's when it's raining stones. We've just recently seen it in Sicily when Etna was covering porches and streets with that, and you could hear them hit windows of cars. So the rain of stones and fire on the ground below. This is how it was reported in the tale. And that suggests us that the mythological story about these giants is nothing more than an ancient memory of an eruption of Campi Flegrei. And it was then passed down from generation to generation until it became first a myth and then a legend associated with the great battle between the giants and the gods of Olympus. I mean, that was their explanation at the time, probably, for that natural scary phenomenon. And this area that we see here, that is now so densely populated, it's a very fertile area. But despite it's so fertile, it did not become a flourishing town like Naples, for example, at least until the Second Punic War, when the Romans that already controlled the ancient area renamed it Puteolis. And then they decided to transform it into a vast and flourishing commercial and military port. It was the period of maximum splendor for ancient Pozzuoli. But it did not last for more than a few centuries, unfortunately. Then the phenomenon of this Brady seism, that land is rising up, that comes with all these earthquake swarms, that began in the 2nd century AD. And that has led to a rapid sinking of the sea because the land was rising, the water was receding. So much that at the fall of the empire, the ancient city of Pozzuoli was in fact already largely at the bottom of the sea, as was a large part of the whole Phlegreian coast in this area. So what did the inhabitants do? Well, they took refuge, also because they had to deal with other problems. Aside from the volcano, they were continuously raided by pirates. So throughout the Middle Ages, then, Pozzuoli had been reduced to this minimal extension of little more than a village. But then, if we look at the birth date of today's Pozzuoli, that is May 9th in 1296, when it was declared a state city by Charles II of Anjou. And that has given rise to a first attempt to populate that area. And then in 1538, to be exact, on September 29th in 1538, Campi Flegrei wasn't so happy about being populated, it seems. A violent eruption occurred, which created or was the birth of a new mountain. Monte Nuovo was born. And that has wiped out the village of Trepergole, which stood right where the crater is today. So not good if you live right on top of the Phlegreian fields. So that has reintroduced the problem to this area with earthquakes and the Brady seism. But then the king has granted various bonuses, and thanks to that, the area began real urbanization. And then it expanded in the 18th century also in the eastern area, and that is continuing until today. So the entire caldera now has become an inhabited center with hundreds of thousands of people. If we go back, we could say, well, Monte Nuovo, the volcano was giving them a warning. He was like, you're building right on top of me, where that village was. So it creates an eruption there, blows the village up and says, hey. So has it helped the volcano? Not that much. So, but recently it looks like it's getting angrier by the day. So Campi Flegrei went from a rural area to a densely populated area. But again, only in the last century it got really, really bad. In 1881, Pozzuoli alone had just over 12,000 inhabitants. In 1921, we almost had twice as much. And in 1951, there were over 50,000 people. In 1991, the inhabitants of Pozzuoli were almost 80,000 people. Then it has stabilized a little bit in the following decades because it's already so full. But today we have just over, around 80,000 residents. But the area around this ancient Roman town, Puteoli, has grown exponentially, right? If we look at Quarto, that had around 2,000 people in the beginning of the 20th century. Today it has over 40,000 people. Bacioli has gone from 5,000 at the beginning of the 20th century to over 25,000 people today. Monte di Procida has gone from around 4,000 at the beginning of the 20th century to 12,000 today. And the nearby Giuliano in Campania is the most emblematic case. From around 12,000 inhabitants at the beginning of the 20th century, today it exceeds 125,000 people. And with that, it's becoming the only Italian city to exceed 100,000 inhabitants without being a provincial capital. So these numbers, guys, I think this clearly demonstrates to us the difficulty of this densely populated area and how you would evacuate that quickly in the event of an imminent danger. And together with what I just showed you with the evacuation route being the center of earthquakes as well. And if there's a bigger one, we know roads crack, fissures are opening. So evacuation by car, even if it's just a larger earthquake swarm, will already be difficult. But then if there's panic and there's ashes flowing around, in case of a smaller eruption, if that's a super volcanic eruption, you don't need to worry about evacuation anymore, sadly. So guys, this was a quick update. I hope you liked it. And since we're speaking of Italy, I have made a video, I've done research about what's happening at Mount Etna, because Mount Etna is constantly erupting right now, and we've had some issues, people skiing next to the lava, tourists blocking the roads, tourists had to be rescued. But there's a bigger problem for Etna, because part of Etna could collapse with a massive landslide into the sea. And that sounds really crazy, but that could trigger a mega tsunami for the Mediterranean. So if you want to know what's really going on at Mount Etna, check out this video in the end screen. It's really interesting. And until then, if you like this video, please leave it a like, share it with your friends. If you want to support the channel, check out the links in the description of this video. You become a member. You could become a member, a supporting member of this channel. Click the join button. And if you want to keep me running, I'm out of coffee. You can buy me more coffee at my buymeacoffee.com/silky site. You can also just follow me on that site for free. So I see you either there or here. Stay tuned, guys. Bye-bye.